What's good, everybody? It's your brother Mad Black, the most dangerous and the most toxic black man on the internet. The brother who told you not to be the token black guy in a group of white friends, but you did it anyway, and then they wound up pushing your ass in the lake, causing you to drown. And I am black up in your face again with some more pro-black commentary. So, if you have not heard, there is a very interesting story about a young black man named Christopher Gilbert who was getting ready to be a medical student who was hanging out with his white friends, and I put friends in quotes, and they were at like this pier or dock or whatever, just hanging out, having something to eat, and all of a sudden, one of these white friends named Cassidy Holland pushed Christopher Gilbert into the lake. This man was basically going up and went under the water for almost about 20 minutes when, his quote-unquote friends just kind of stood around and watched it. Someone else, one of the other patrons at a different restaurant, had to actually save him. And apparently his white friends, quote-unquote, knew that Chris Gilbert could not swim, but, they pushed him in there anyway, and he was eventually rescued by someone completely different, a completely different group of people, and they tried CPR on him. They got him to the hospital. He was pronounced brain dead for a while and was in a coma, and his heart had stopped and a lot of his organs started shutting down, but miraculously Christopher Gilbert has lived, and it's been about a week or so, and he has come out of the coma. And I'm surprised he's actually even being able to communicate, right? And, his mother, his black mother, was very upset about this story because she got the call on the phone from somebody basically saying that Christopher Gilbert had drowned and he was brain dead and everything. And she went to the hospital and she just said she felt like her whole world was ending while her son was laying in the hospital bed and his organs were shutting down like that, right? I can't imagine what that type of news is to hear as a parent, that your child is dying like that, right? But through the grace of God and just through her own strength, he was able to pull through and wake up. And I would assume he's suffering from some very severe brain damage. You can't be underwater for that long, or your brain starts shutting down for that long with no brain activity without having some sort of brain damage. So I don't know how severe it is, but apparently he's awake now and somehow is communicating with people about the whole situation. Because his mother, she wanted those quote unquote white friends to be arrested. She wanted the law to be sicked on these people, right? And she had been even asking for help from the community for, to get the story some attention, to get these people locked up and get them charged with attempted murder, right? But Christopher Gilbert has decided to get his own lawyer, and he doesn't want to press charges against his white friends. Yeah, he said that he doesn't think anyone did anything intentionally wrong, and he has a new lawyer of his own that says that they don't intend to file charges against Holland. So Cassie Holland basically almost kills this Negro, and he's not going to press charges against her or any of his other white friends who basically just sat there and watched him drown and go underwater for 20 minutes. And I would like to sit here and pretend that I'm surprised by this. I would love to sit here and pretend that this is unusual or weird or whatever. But the mind of the Negro is something to behold, where there is actually no self-preservation when it comes to dealing with white people. And I mean none. This fool basically almost died and has basically decided to let his killers go. Or the people who tried to kill him, he decided to let them go. Now, some people are out there saying, well, he was underwater for a long time. He might have brain damage. So maybe that's why he's buck dancing it up like this, right? Maybe this is why he wants to forgive these people. I don't believe that's true. In my opinion, if he did have brain damage, it happened before he was pushed into the water. And that brain damage is called the slave mind in comparison to white supremacy. The fact that he was the token in this group of quote unquote friends, and they thought it would be funny for them, a female at that, thought it would be funny to just push him into the water when they knew that he couldn't swim, and then none of them did anything to go rescue him, is all telling to me about their relationship. I could almost bet this Negro was the butt of damn near all the jokes if he was in this little group. I can almost bet this is not the first time that they've pranked him or done something to him that almost cost him his life. I can almost bet that he's probably tried to date one of the women or something like that, but they've always rejected him, and he just kind of laughed it off and stayed in the group. I can almost bet that. Because you don't go from just meeting a group of friends and they think it's okay to push you into a lake and watch you drown, right? And when you have a black person like this who has no common sense and no self-preservation, stuff like this is bound to happen, right? And I've seen this before because I went to school with white guys, and I know that they love to think that it's okay to do things that are life-threatening. They think that's funny, right? To do things that can seriously injure somebody or cause bodily harm to somebody to the point where they might die. And you've seen shows like Jackass or whatever, you've seen stuff like this, right? Where they almost kill themselves in doing these weird stunts. And with the advent of social media, you got about a gazillion idiots out there doing ridiculous things, and basically some of them wind up losing their lives based on, the stuff that they're doing. Like I said, they do this crazy stuff to each other or to themselves. So it's not beyond the pale to think that they would do something like this to a black person, because they don't value black people's lives anyway. So if they are cool with doing this type of stuff to each other, why wouldn't they do this to a black person? There's a very famous story that was just resolved maybe last year, where this white girl, one of her friends, pushed her off of a bridge into this lake, and they were so high up that she hit the water so hard that it messed up her internal organs. Like, that's how bad the fall was. Because people don't realize just how dense water is, and if you hit water from a certain height, you're going to do just as much damage as if you just fell and hit some concrete, right? And she hit the water real hard. They said when they pulled her out of the water, she was all red. She was all bruised already, right? And blood was pooling up all under her skin and whatnot. So, once again, if they'll do that to each other, then yeah, of course they'll do something to a black guy and have him damn near drown, right? And still call themselves his friend. And this fool doesn't want to press any charges. So at this point, I mean, if he doesn't have the sense that God gave him to save his own life or to punish people that do him wrong, then we don't need to do any more. We don't need to do any more rabble rousing. There don't need to be any more protests, because there are people out there protesting and trying to get attention for his case. He basically spit in the face of his mother, right, who wanted justice for him, for his life. And he doesn't have the same concern for his own life, obviously. So we don't need to keep on going about this story. I might do an update on it depending on what happens, but for the most part, who gives a damn? If he doesn't care, then I don't care, right? If he doesn't think that it's a good thing to try to save his own life, and he wants to probably still keep on hanging out with these white folks, right? He's probably going to try to go hang out with them as soon as possible. But he won't get the point that they almost killed his dumb ass. But we'll see how things go as time goes on. You folks let me know how you feel about this story in the comments section. I very much like to hear your opinions on it. Anyway, Mad Black, and I will be back with my foot on a devil's back.